Welcome to Giant Radio, where we're all about big ideas in sales and marketing and eye-popping discussions with successful entrepreneurs. Turn up the volume and settle in. Now, here's the founder of Giant Jaxx Media and your host, Paul Hitchcock.
Hi, everybody. This is Paul Hitchcock, founder and president of Giant Jaxx Media. Welcome to Giant TV. Excited for my guests here, Arjen and Eric. Arjen is a Vistage chair doing wonderful things. Eric is an AI expert advising businesses across the country on how to use AI. And this is obviously a hot topic, a lot going on here. Arjen, I want to start with you to tell us a bit about your practice, what you're building there, and how AI might be coming up in your involvement with your members there.
Okay, sure. So yeah, and I'll mention, besides being a Vistage chair, I also do a fair bit of one-on-one and coaching and consulting, where AI is also a big topic. So we can come back to that. My Vistage group in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley consists of CEOs who operate in a broad range of sectors, from management consulting to construction to import-export to nonprofit to wealth management. So broad range of sort of mid-sized companies, small to mid-sized companies. And each one of those CEOs is asking themselves, with all the AI hype that's out there, is this something I really, need to worry about right now? Or is this just, is this kind of like crypto? I'm glad I didn't spend any time on it. Next year when something else comes up. So that's something I'm working through with them. And I'm sure that part of the conversation with Eric is around that topic of, hey, what is the real scoop on AI?
Yeah, no, for sure. And Arjen, with your groups there, what industries are you working with there, and what industries do you want to bring into the groups?
So right now, I think I mentioned, everything from management consulting to construction to import-export. Looking for members from areas we're not yet involved with. Legal, would love to have the managing partner of a decent-sized law firm in the group. It just brings that different way of looking at the world. Similarly, accounting, we did have a fractional CFO practice leader for a while, and she has sold her business and moved on. So we're looking for someone else with that kind of accounting perspective to join the group. Really curating a dozen to 18 folks sitting around a table coming from very different mindsets and perspectives.
Yeah, and I know you're focused on some great things going on there. You're meeting every month where your members get together and you're discussing the hot issues that are coming up, and people are highly collaborative in those monthlies. Is that a fair way to describe it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very much an intensive day of work. This is not kind of going off and partying or anything like that. It's not just networking. It's each of these people putting the time in to become a better leader, recognizing that leadership as a CEO or managing partner, whatever, leading their organization is a critical function that they can never be too good at. Right. Also looking at making better decisions, so getting the input from the rest of the group on the key decisions they have to make, and then monitoring the results, because in the end, that's what they're really focused on.
Yeah, no, wonderful. And Eric, let's get over to you and talk about AI and what these businesses should know, and what's the landscape like right now.
Yeah, no, what Arjen just said, I think, really dovetails right into the core of AI, and that's making better decisions. In the way that AI originally started was as a decision engine, or as a recommendation engine at Amazon, was one of the first implementers of AI. We've all seen that for 15 years. But now it's mainstream with the capabilities of ChatGPT and all the other tools, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other tools that are now coming out with specialties that are going to help CEOs make better decisions. One decision that's difficult maybe in the beginning is that it seems overwhelming. Like, this is just too much information all at once. So that has to be whittled down, and the best way to do that is to create a strategy for AI.
How do you address Arjen's comment about, is this crypto? And, is it going to go away? I mean, address that, because, he's not alone in that feeling. Others may feel the same way.
Yeah, now I wanted to actually talk about that first, but I figured we'd go with the positive side first. Crypto is still around, right? It's not going anywhere, and it's going to have a big part of the future. But what's underlying crypto is the blockchain technology, and that's going to be a big part of the AI ecosystem, and what's going to be coming down in kind of like the Web 3.0, if you will, and managing data. But aside from that, AI has, if you remember back 10 years ago when Watson and IBM were doing their big thing with AI, that was kind of like the beginning. And then there was a giant trough of disillusionment when we didn't get what we wanted out of AI for a long period of time. Companies were using it, but not the average person. Then with ChatGPT, just last year now, like almost coming up on a year, we have this big breakthrough. So we are through the trough of disillusionment with AI, and we are now in the full-on tidal wave, right? In back of me here. And the best place to be is riding that wave right up at the top, not too far in where you're going to get pummeled, and not too far where it's going to go by you, but getting in at that right point. And that's where we are right now. We're right at the peak of that moment.
Yeah. And how do you, Eric, advise businesses to really dive into AI? I mean, what's the first step in understanding what it is? Do I want to use it? Can I use it? Like, what's the beginning?
Sure, I have a multi-hour session that I do on that.
Condense it.
Yeah, I'll condense it into 30 seconds. So basically what I do in the work that I do with companies, we start with kind of like a discovery statement, like where are we at? And then where do we want to get to? Like, what's our vision for the future? And one of the first decisions that I would like to CEOs make, or, recommend that they make, is like, what's your response to AI? Like, come up with that first. Make a response. What is my response? Am I going to wait and see? Am I going to maybe do some incremental work, or am I going to go through a transformation with my business to leverage this technology? That's really the starting point for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting because MIT just put out a very fascinating report on what they're calling the Great Acceleration. They interviewed CIOs on their perspectives about generative AI, and so pretty in depth. I'll get that out to everybody. But Arjen, are you seeing the companies or the discussions that are coming up that they're already using it, or they're trying to figure out how to use it? Like, where do you see your people standing on this?
Well, I also work with some AI technology companies that have been around for a long time. And so clearly there is AI is not just something that you consume directly as a business. It's often, like a vitamin inside something else that you may not even know you're using AI. This company I work with basically provides an engine to other software companies, and probably most of the users of those other companies' software don't even know that AI is driving the functionality. So that's one piece of it. You may already be using AI and you don't know it. In terms of directly consuming AI, and ChatGPT, as we mentioned, is kind of the tip of the spear on this. Part of this also relates to the company's general ability to absorb innovation. And I think one of the big issues for the CEOs is, okay, do I want to innovate? Can I innovate? What do I need I think with your output, your outcomes that you talked about in terms of, to me, that's kind of like the punchline of the joke, and we haven't told the joke yet, right? We need to actually look at our organizations and say, are we actually able to innovate? And if we don't feel like we're good at that, what do we have to do to become better? And maybe AI is part of that process in terms of this is the innovation the technology that we use to bring our innovation level higher in the organization. So that's those are the conversations that we're having, and the struggles and challenges that they have as leaders. First of all, with themselves, they got to get their own head on straight, and then how do I work with the organization to take advantage of these technologies?
Yeah, well said.
Yeah,
Eric,
Arjen,
what do you think?
well, I'm curious, Arjen, how do you go about trying to attempting to get the CEO in that space or the business owner where they can think about what's possible, what the future can look like? Like, what methodology do you go about doing that?
Well, I think it comes back first to having clarity about the objectives that you have for the organization. And one of the things, some of my members are focused on how do I grow this puppy, right? And then the question is, okay, how can this help you grow? Other people are saying, wait a minute, I'm having a challenge on how to manage the growth I've got. And so then AI would have a different role to play. So it's first of all a matter of having some strategic clarity about what you're trying to accomplish in a sort of 1, 2, 3 year time frame. Secondly, it's looking at your organization after you have that clarity and saying, okay, given that, what's a problem I'd like to solve? And they say when if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. I mean, Chat GPT can't solve everything, right? But let's start with the problem we're trying to solve, and then see whether there's a tool available to help us solve it. And if all the hype is real, then probably that tool is going to have some AI in it, right? Good chance.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you find, Eric, when you're going into companies and the feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest I spend a lot of time not talking about AI. And the reason I do that is because I'm talking about strategy and objectives and vision and values and your purpose of your company. And then you build AI on top of that to reach your strategic objectives. And the objectives are obviously your measurables, like the things that I want to double the business. Okay. And what's your strategy to do that? What's your plan? Okay. How can AI support that? And sometimes you even have to question the strategy. Like, now, does AI necessarily make your strategy obsolete or need to be altered 10 degrees this way or the other way? That's the factor. Like, the marketplace has changed. So if you wrote a strategy more than a year ago, I mean, you might have to review that and see where it is.
I mean, it can change the game, right? Because I had an interesting conversation with a startup that is doing an AI-based solution for lawyers who, to make them much more productive. It's not hard to imagine that kind of thing if you played around with ChatGPT a little bit. One of the challenges in this is for the law firms is that their business model is charging for time. And so if you are more efficient, does that mean that you're going to actually reduce your revenue because you're not taking as much time to produce the outputs? So that's the initial kind of thing that I'll say a CIO in a law firm bumps his head into. But then she's going to say, well, yeah, but what if other people are doing this and we're not, right? So there's also that competitive side.
Yeah. And that you get into the business model discussion then, like, is the legal business model of selling by the hour going to survive? Like, I remember when Zoom Legal came out many years ago, and what they had done was just automated some contracts. Like, it was it wasn't even AI. They had just automated contracts, logically automated them, and did very well. So, it's like today, I think you might have to look at, maybe making legal, and that's what they did. They made it a retainer. You just paid for the month. Yeah. And lawyers could do that potentially. And then, maybe project fees or something like that. It's going to change the industry.
I think that word is an important one. We should use it more, automation. It scares some people, but I think that behind the AI is like we said, it's a hot term right now. Yeah. But a much longer term discussion has been what can computers help us to automate, meaning that we reduce the level of human time required to get a job done, and AI is just, I think, another sort of vitamin in the cabinet full of stuff that automation technology provides to us. And so again, coming back to the CEO who's thinking strategically about this is, all right, do I, if I'm focused on growth, can I automate my marketing and my sales? If I'm focused on efficiency and productivity, can I automate my customer service? Can I automate my production process? And then you start looking at, okay, is this a saw or a hammer, or what do I need here to get this? What tool is the right one to do the job?
Yeah. and kind of beyond that, tying them together. So you kind of know when you go out into the marketplace these days, there's a lot of discrete tools to do specific things. But if you have a strategic vision, you're trying to go, like cradle to grave in whatever it is. And no automation tool, no one tool is going to take you from customer discovery through onboarding and service. There's going to be a lot of discrete tools in there, and how do those tie together, and what's the risk of each of them? And there's a lot going on in that space.
Yeah. So I think that's a great way to frame it. And it's also a question to come back to CEOs around their strategy and say, well, what are the drivers in your strategy? Some people say, well, marketing is key driver for me, so I'm focusing on marketing, but it could be IT, it could be technology that's a key driver. It could be, culture and your people. It could be, operational excellence. So there's a lot of different things. It's low price, various strategies, and then you can say, well, okay, how does this all fit together? Include, with all the pieces, how do they all fit together to make that happen?
Yeah, great discussion. I mean, obviously, there's a lot to talk about here. I want to tell everyone that's listening, get connected to these gentlemen. Their information's around this video, wherever you're watching it. And want to thank both of you for being on here. Incredible. And thank you so much.
Hey, great to be here.